Often cited as one of the GOATs off the strength of his lyrical prowess and long-standing tenure at the top of the commercial totem pole, Eminem has accrued each and every accolade you could ever want as a hip-hop artist. Boasting over 100 million album sales worldwide, M's pedigree as an MC speaks for itself. But for all the success that he has had, both of his own accord and under the watchful eye of Dr. Dre, M's efforts to use his considerable pull to run his own imprint yield far less consistent results. Founded in 1999 by M and his enterprising manager Paul Rosenberg at the height of his rise to fame, Shady Records was launched as a means of giving Eminem an organizational foothold in the industry. Technically speaking, it stood strong over the years, remaining under the Interscope umbrella and acting as a homestead for numerous acts at one time. However, where the problem lies is in transforming those other artists into anything other than second stringers. Over the course of its 20-year history, Shady Records has operated something of a revolving door policy when it comes to an artist. At irregular intervals, an influx of capable and objectively talented MCs come in. Then, before long, say 3 to 4 years, they have scattered into the wind. Through 2006's The Re-Up, right up to the former declaration of Shady 2.0, this tendency to wipe the slate clean has been upheld right through to today's modern incarnation that boasts such hot prospects as Westside Gunn and Conway and LA's Boogie. But as much potential as Griselda's Hall & Nash and the Compton rapper Harbor, what remains to be seen is whether they're in the right hands. After all, it's not as though M's track record as a mentor is entirely populated by missteps. Discounting any transient success that some artists have had, the true shining example of Shady's capabilities as a talent scout comes in the shape of 50 Cent. And it's something the notoriously temperamental G-Unit leader is all too happy to admit. My career wouldn't even exist. I wouldn't even be talking to you if it wasn't for M, 50 told Carson Daly. It's amazing that later in your life, you could find someone that means so much to the comfort in your actual life. My grandparents were that for me before me. Yet despite all of that fearsome loyalty and gratitude, February 2014 saw 50 tender his resignation from Shady's ranks. It's freedom to invest in your own ideas, he told Forbes. If ever I had a horse that I was betting on at the track, I'd like to be the horse. Let it be me, goddammit, because I'm gonna run as hard as I can. It's having the ability to do that versus it's out of the question, 50 said. Now those options have opened up. Forthcoming with the fact that he was a special case and situation, his decisions to opt out of the Shady infrastructure came when he was still at the peak of his career and had been self-sustainable for years. Citing the need for creative control as the reason for his departure, the fact that even a household name such as 50 had to abandon ship to take the wheel raises the question of how M and Shady Records will respond to a less renowned artist pushing for a say in their career's direction. Given his status as one of hip-hop's major flag bearers for the average music consumer, the name Shady Records holds a subliminal association with success. Amassing fans in every corner of the globe, the success of the label's namesake has made it an aspirational destination for many artists. Brought into the fold in 2011, Alabama's Ghetto Cowboy informed Vibe of the outpour of joy that came from getting that call from M and Rosenberg. When I called my mom to tell her, she straight started boo-hoo crying. She was just so happy for me. She knows how big Eminem is, and she never imagined that I would get to this level. My team actually even surprised me with the news and literally just said, the Shady deal is done one day. I remember 5 years ago sitting in my cousin's car and asking him, would Eminem get this? Would he sign me? Aligned with Eminem, this immediately equated to a fast track to worldwide fame in his mom's mind, and Yella's own comments seemed to suggest that in 2011. He'd already framed it as a first step towards hip-hop immortality. Yet, in his post-departure evaluation of his time at Shady, the Slum American didn't hone in on the rewards the label afforded him, but the glaring window into a major label's delegation of funds and where their true focus lies. Being with Shady is learning the power of branding. It's big bank and then a blanketed promotional company to support that investment. That investment comes into Shady, and Shady blankets that with the cosign of Marshall, and all that comes with that, which is a lot. Depicted as more as cultural positioning than a subsidiary that can take raw materials and mold an artist into a star, this same shift from getting whisked away on a fairy tale to approaching the frank reality of the music industry is expressed in the testimony of Cassius. A stalwart of the re-up era, his positioning alongside 50, Lloyd Banks, and Eminem on You Don't Know sent a very strong message about his future prospects. Hell-bent on getting on the Shady payroll, the county hound had been so unrelenting that he once walked up and told Paul, "I'm getting signed with y'all. Y'all gonna sign me." And Paul was like, "What?" I went and got locked up after that. When I came back and met with them, it was funny because they was looking for me at the same time. Like, where's that kid Ramon that I saw? Where's that kid at? When I submitted them new music, I was under the moniker Cassius. They didn't even know who I was until they saw me and was like, "You're the dude we've been looking for." Once again, Eminem, likely seeing something of himself in the undeterred young lyricist, plucked an MC from relative obscurity and adverse circumstances, causing them to believe that the world was at their feet. Yet, for all that, the label's moniker may be a household name, but it isn't a gateway to fulfilling your wildest dreams. And by 2013, Cassius had retreated from delivering projects for Shady to playing a depleted role as a way to get the creative leeway he needed. "I'm in a writing contract with them regardless," he told HipHopDX. "I'm always going to be under the Shady umbrella, and we family, regardless. The situation with them, I just needed to be on a platform where I could release projects more. They're not in the position to release projects as many times as a year as I would like to." At odds with his own viewpoint on what he needs to do to propel his career forward in a meaningful way, this is a catalyst for parting ways with Shady that is startlingly consistent among its alumni. Ushered into Shady's inner circle in the same signing spree as Cassius, Bobby Creekwater cut ties with Shady back in 2009, a mere 4 years after he first inked his name on the dotted line. As to why he willfully vacated this spot, Bobby sang a familiar tune that was all based around a disconnect between his vision for his releases and theirs. "We parted ways. It was a business decision. Wasn't no bad blood or nothing like that. The relationship just ran its term." Understand what I'm saying? As far as Bobby Creek was concerned, I have big plans, and that particular relationship with Shady wasn't helping as far as the plans that I had. By no means oblivious to the mixture fortunes of his artist, Shady spoke to Detroit News as the company turned 15 and expressed genuine bafflement over how many talented MCs have failed to flourish under his tutelage. When asked about his misfires, M admitted that, "I internalize it. I try to figure out why, because when somebody comes to our label that we get excited about, you try to figure it out. If I'm excited about it, why is it not connecting with over in this audience? You try to figure out why, and you're left scratching your head." Wrecked with confusion over what went wrong, there have been moments of clarity in which M has acknowledged Shady Records' overbearing shadow and the ligature it can place around an artist's growth. Vocalized on his 2018 LP Kamikaze, Shady acknowledges label shortcomings as it pertained to his closest friends in D12. Over the course of the heartfelt stepping stone, M took all the sorrow that had been submerged over the years and brought it all to the surface. "I can't be the guy everybody depends on for entire careers because that's not even fair. I will always be here, but that spark isn't there, and I don't know how to recapture that time in that era. I've tried hearkening back to, but I'm fighting for air. I'm barely charting myself. Feels like I'm on the descent, but it was not my intent to treat y'all like a stepping stone, though I left no one behind, but we've been down every road, done all we possibly can. I know we kept our hopes up, but the longer we spend living this life that we live, the less is left for closure, so let's let this go. It's not goodbye to our friendship, but D12 is over." Left to wallow in the purgatory of hip-hop's lower reaches while M continued his unimpeding rise to the Hall of Fame, his bars speak to not only how the group's demise was brought about by the untimely death of the man that M saw as the glue and proof, but an unconscious negligence that let them slip from his priorities. Played by guilt all over how it all went down, a promotional interview for Kamikaze saw the label boss exhibit a real longing to make amends. I think the conversation going forward is to see if there's anything we can do to help their solo careers. I want to help them do whatever it is their next thing is on the agenda. Mixtape, album, shopping, whatever it is. Stalked by substance abuse issues for much of his career, there is an ingrained volatility that comes with trying to run a company while struggling to hold the seams of your own life together. So, in this sense, taking D12 for granted as part of his trusted entourage rather than artist that needed to be nurtured and tended to can be comprehended. Vacating with a gold record to his name, Obi Trice, real name No Gimmicks, was another artist that proved the Shady Records deal could be conducive to success with his debut album Cheers. Yet, in Obi's case, while he places some blame for his 2008 departure on the bureaucratic confines of major labels, he also takes some culpability for his own career not panning out as both he and Eminem had likely envisioned due to his own short-sightedness. The thing with Shady Records was, it was an Interscope Records type situation. Me and Interscope Records chairman Jimmy Iovine was having issues back then. I was kind of reckless, not on time, certain things, and he didn't want to further the project with me, so we tried to work it out, but it just didn't come to a head, so I had to do what I had to do. Eminem, that's his boss, so he really didn't have a say. I was young, fresh out the hood, jumped into the music thing. It was a little overwhelming for me. I didn't seize the moment when I should have, so I had to move on, and that's just how things go. It's a business first, and that's just how it was. Accepting his own missteps during this 2012 interview, this perception is notably different from the one that he led with on the leaked 2008 track entitled The Giant, an incisive summary of not only his plight, but that of Shady's other soldiers. Obi seemed to relish his newfound autonomy as he claimed, well, no more Shady, maybe it was meant for me to branch off from my Caucasian friend. Nope, no more second place to Eminem. Question if I was second is the question to many men. Not so much a diss as an acknowledgement of the ties that he was bound to, this is a momentary slip-up in the regimented instances of all former Shady Records, that it remained all love and that there wasn't a hit of ill feeling about their time by his side. However, whether that's out of genuine gratitude or fear or verbal reproach from an artist of Eminem's caliber is shrouded in mystery. Despite the mixed bag that they were given, this tendency to praise Shady is consistent among signees, both new and old. In fact, even current signee Boogie, who was launched into the public eye with the accomplished debut album Everything's for Sale, expressed his career ambitions through the lens of paying homage to the boss. I'm competing with M. I don't think anyone understands that I want to take his spot. I love him and that's my big bro. He signed me and changed my life, but I want his spot and I want to be richer than him. But, while admirable in theory, the hardships that one stat quo incurred would suggest that any true resistance to bend to Shady's will could result in problems for the Compton rapper. Although these other tales have a hint of created suppression about them, the controversy that surrounded the Atlanta rapper's swift exit from Shady would suggest that a capacity for conformity will stand you in good stead. I came in there a certain kind of way. Then I started making music to appease them instead of trying to make music to appease the people that got me in that door, Stat claimed. All these people I talked about picked an identity. Game's of Blood, 50's a gangster, Kendrick's an intellectual. You know who the heck they're rapping to when they rap. Stat quo was all over the place. But as it turned out, it wouldn't be an erratic approach that would call time on a stopover at Shady, but a creative disagreement that dates back to 2003 that resulted in not only his contract being figuratively torn up, but his Statlanta album being shelved until 2010. There was a song called Dance on it, Stat told HipHopDX. M wrote the chorus and then wanted me to say the chorus. I thought it was not good. If I would have said, yeah, that's it, that's the one we going with, I would have got my album out. But I try to be on some, nah, I don't like that ain't a hit. I was really arguing with the top selling rapper of all time on what a hit was. What a dummy idiot I was. My exact quote was, I'll put it out if you stay on the hook. And then I said, if you give me $1 million, then I'll put it out. When I said that, me and M went like this. It was a wrap. So, were other artists left in order to make their way back to free reign over their own material? Stat's testimony would suggest that he was stifled and eventually hung out to dry for attempting to seek it in a way that M himself couldn't endorse. Now, what does this mean for their latest signees? Renowned for excelling in the zone of hard-edged street stories, the news that Westside Gunn and Conway the Machina Griselda had signed distribution deals with Shady seemed like a feather in their cap as opposed to the end-all be-all of their success. The style and energy of Griselda Records, Gunn and Conway are infectious. We can't wait to put them on the platform they have earned and deserve, M declared upon signing them, with Buffalo's Black Sopranos wasting little time in putting their deal to good use. When viewed alongside the other stories that we've heard, remarks that Conway made to Consequence of Sound take on an anonymous new tone and are reminiscent of the optimism that other artists had displayed at the outset. With Paul and M, behind me, the sky's the limit, I believe. That's why I did the deal. I feel like was already off and running. It was my own entity, and I really laid my ground, paved my way with my bars, with the I'm spitting, the music I'm putting out, a lot of freestyles I've been killing and all that. My mind state going into it was, I'ma just keep doing what got me to this point, and let them work their magic and do what they do best. Laden with the usual artillery of ad-libs, somber beats, and verses from the brother-in-arms Benny the Butcher, Griselda's latest project, WWCD, certainly bore all the hallmarks of their sound without any shady-oriented alterations. Based on this record, it could well be that Shady Records have turned over a new leaf and are leaving creative direction and output levels to their artists. And if so, there's every chance that Conway and Westside Gunn's pre-existing profile could be escalated just as 50s. If not, it'll be interesting to see whether they cut ties in the same vein as others that have left the stable, citing the same business issues and apparent mutual respect as Bobby Creekwater, Cassius, and all the other artists that found out that when it comes to signing with a mega star, there can be a disparity between its expected impact and the rewards that you'll reap through association with an all-time great. This has been a Hip Hop Madness original. Make sure to stay tuned and stay up to date with everything we got going on by hitting that subscribe button and notification bell. Oh, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HipHopMadness and join the movement.